And we're live. How exciting. We have got a beautiful guest to come in to talk to us today. Hello, everyone in Become a Comfortable Parent Land. Hi, Susan. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're so good. So I'm
Mhm.
just going to set the scene for anyone that maybe hasn't quite caught up on some of the lives that have been happening. I am
Mhm.
talking to people who have generously agreed to share their experience of moving from a place of maybe feeling a bit uncomfortable or worried or concerned about how they're going to have conversations with their growing children about things to do with being human and sexuality and growing up and puberty and all those things. And so Susan has very kindly agreed to be a guest today. Susan is a coach and a mom. She lives in Canada and she has participated and benefited from, very happy to say, Sensitive Conversations Made Easier, which is my 9-week program that supports parents to go from this awkward and sort of uncomfortable point in their parenting to, well, what Susan is going to describe. So I'm actually not going to talk about it anymore. Susan, tell me a little bit. Let's start off with who you parent, what your family is like at the moment.
Mhm. I am the mother of two boys. I have a 10-year-old, and I have a son who is he's turning 13 tomorrow, but I think his body tells me he's like 15. So yeah, we're in those years.
It can be really sort of a little bit of a wake-up call when our children grow into adult bodies. It's sort of like, how did that
I
happen?
know. I know. I was at the dinner table and I was like, saw little hairs sprouting from his chin. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very good. So tell me a little bit about, because a lot of parents will say to me when they come to me for help, is that what they want for their kids and what they want to give
Mhm.
their kids is quite different to what they had growing up. No fault
Mhm.
of their parents' own. So
Mhm.
can you tell
Mhm.
me a little bit about your growing up?
Mhm. I was I have one sister, which means that there's two plus my mom, three women in the house. So it was a mostly female household with my dad. And so that means that I have experience being a woman and having a sister. But on balance, we didn't talk about bodies, about sex, about puberty. It was, I don't think my parents were trying to withhold anything, but we didn't talk about anything. It was also a very conservative Christian home, which means that there's lots of rules about what you do and don't do when you do them. And those were what were kind of enforced. And those were the conversations that would arise every so often. But it was, I don't think we talked about it. And because I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, the community also is very conservative, which means that even close family friends and parents, no one talked about it. No one talked about anything. So anything that I learned, and I'm still learning so much, was because I found the courage to ask my own questions, and that
Mm,
hasn't that's taken a long time for me to feel comfortable with that.
mm,
So nothing. And then
mm.
I have boys.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about anything. And now I have like these two young men. I'm like, okay, okay. Oh, they've got different parts. Not so naive, but how do you support them? What do you
Yeah.
talk to them about? I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Do you know, it's really interesting because I don't think I've heard you actually talk about your growing up, and it so matches mine. I don't know
Mm.
if you know that I grew up in a conservative Christian family as well, and
Mm-hmm.
my parents were missionaries. And like you, that's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting you should say about the
Mm-hmm.
wider community, because we
Mm-hmm.
were all supported by the wider community, but also
Mm-hmm.
policed by the wider community. Like if
Yes.
you stepped
Yeah.
out of line, then the
Yeah.
wider community would be saying like,
Don't
that's
do
not
that.
right.
Don't
Yeah.
do that. And look in the Bible. This is what it says, and which are So okay, I better follow that.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
because that was all, well, I don't know about you, but that was all
yeah,
I knew anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And
So
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, so having that experience, and for some people, that experience is really precious and it
Mm-hmm.
aligns with who they are as people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's not to say that,
Mm-hmm.
having a life like that is bad. For some
Mm-hmm.
of us, though, our very being is not aligned with that way of living. So
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me, knowing what you had growing up, what do you feel was missing, or what do you wish, if you could have waved a magic wand and given
Mm-hmm.
young Susan either conversations or experiences,
Mm-hmm.
what would those have been?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting you said that there are so many positives, so many benefits, so many amazing values that I was given. Um, so I'm really, really grateful for that. But where where it was lacking is I just didn't know how to think about it, and um, I wish that there was. Um, Yeah, even the thought of sitting down. I haven't actually really thought this question through, so let me just give this a pause.
Mhm. And just while you're thinking, I'm going to say to the
Hmm.
people that are watching that actually what's happening here for Susan, that she is able to pause and think about it and not feel pressured to answer the question, would be a really amazing
Hmm.
example of one of the skills that we talk about inside Sensitive Conversations Made Easy.
Yeah, yeah,
How we can
absolutely.
develop permission with ourselves and with our children to, if someone is asking us something, even as simple as a question like this, that we can say to ourselves, I'm actually not sure about that. And so I'm going to stop and think
Hmm.
and not feel like we have to, like, oh, quick, someone's expecting something of me. So I'm going to need to act on that straight away. Okay,
Hmm.
back to normal transmission.
So I think that certainly conversations, um, and um, maybe with my mom. And I say all this with a little bit of, oh, that would have been nice, and yet. Um, my younger self was so shy, and I think there was lots of shame around this topic that it's hard to even imagine having had more conversations about this um, with my mom. But I think that having had the chance, or even knowing that my mom was kind of stepping in, or my dad was stepping in to quote unquote try, I
Mm,
think would have given my younger self this sense of it's okay to talk about this. They
mm,
want to, and if I'm ready, I can. But
mm,
I would have felt this part of me saying it's okay. I think the other thing that my younger self would have really wanted or benefited from is choice. Like don't don't kind of just say, "Oh, this is bad. Don't do this. Don't no no no," and really highlight all the negatives
mm,
without also saying this is also how it can be, you know. So because you're not all you know is what you don't do, and you avoid it, and you're afraid of it, and you're scared of it, or you ignore it, or you think of it, but you don't really know what other things are. So you grow up with this sense of no 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 no, and then if you try anything, you feel guilty.
mm,
And so everything as it relates to bodies, puberty, and sex is kind of laden with guilt.
mm.
And um, it makes me feel quite sad for my younger self, even as I think about this, that that's what her predominant experience was, because I know it doesn't have to be that way. And then as adults, we have to peel all that back.
Yeah.
Um, so probably those two things. Um, it would have been nice to be able to at least to think of my sister as someone I could talk to these about these things, but because neither of us really had that education or that talking, that wasn't there. Yeah.
Mm,
So it was just an
mm,
awkward thing. So
yeah.
helping me feel okay about my body. I was never encouraged to explore it or know it, or you don't do that.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So,
It
mhm.
it it reminds me of, how I think how I was taught about my body is it was something that carried my brain around,
Yeah,
and you sort of
yeah,
just like you kept it healthy so it could keep your brain
yeah,
going. But it
yeah,
was sort of like maybe a dangerous thing or a thing you
yeah,
just it's just there. Yeah.
Yeah. I have this really distinct memory of, being the mother of two boys, and they start to walk, and their hands just naturally go over. I'm sure you're quite comfortable saying, penis or
Mhm.
weenie or whatever people
Yeah.
choose to call. Their hands would just keep naturally going over there, and I thought, well, of course, their arms are the exact length. Their hands are exactly there. That's just so normal. Well, no wonder
Yeah.
so many, or my little men anyway, are just fidgeting. Like,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, of course. So
Mm.
that, oh, okay,
Mm.
that makes sense to me. Hmm.
It's like our children actually teach us. Well, you and I have talked about this before, how our children are our teachers. And in
Yes,
fact, one of the things they teach us
yes,
is to reassess
yes,
everything we have come to believe about the body,
yes,
because there are their beautiful bodies, and us as parents we just think they're amazing. And they
yeah,
do these things that we were taught were not okay. And so there's this
yeah,
this
yeah,
sort of moment of clarity, maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell me now about then. So Susan, as she was and growing up and all the things that entailed,
Mm.
moving into you as a parent now,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
tell me the journey between realizing that what you had growing up was not what you wanted to do for your kids, and
Yeah.
what did you do then?
Mhm. I think when my boys were, so they're 10 and 13 tomorrow, I think I knew I had this sense of being able to raise them and parent them, and I could quote get away with not talking about anything or not saying anything, and just letting them be little. But as they've both been growing, I felt this blanket of like, okay, I have to talk to them about things. I don't know what to talk to them about. I don't have their bodies. I can't relate to them. I and my own values around um, consent, and how men and women, and men and men and women and women, how they need to talk, how they need to relate to each other. Those are very strong for me. Um, and you nicely package that into consent, because to me that's just feelings. Like, of course you don't, do this to each other, and I want them both to be in healthy relationships where consent is they experience it and they create room for it for another.
Mm.
So the whole topic of consent and how you relate to yourself and to, so I guess all to say is that my window of feeling like, oh, I don't really have to say too much, um, you know, shrunk. And then I was like, oh crap, I don't have a window.
Mm.
And I'm talking as if I'm the only parent in the relationship. I'm not. My husband is a great dad, but he's a little more quiet on it, and he just, like, still learning. He's a little bit more laid back about it. I'm like, no, you got it. We have to talk to them. And then, so as this window shrunk, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And so that burden of kind of feeling like I need to equip them,
Mm.
um, skills to be themselves, skills to be with themselves, skills to like themselves and care for themselves, and then skills for how to relate to um, the others in their world. Um, and then the values of this is how you grow up and live. And then, the deep respect too for different choices that people have and the different ways of loving. And I think if I haven't talked for too long, I warned Sarah that I'm such a fan of her work. That one of my sons, my 13-year-old. See, I'm already calling him 13. Poor guy. My 12-year-old, um, at 3 months, was diagnosed with all the allergies you can possibly imagine, and so has lived with this particular I think blanket of fear. You wouldn't notice it in him, but as a mom, I know it's there. Um, And so what that meant for him with allergies is that I remember that there was a point where he just stopped kissing me, and before my other one did, just because he knew that he could be hurt or damaged or
Mm.
by cross contamination or by his allergies, because it's dairy and milk and eggs and soy and peanuts and tree nuts and shellfish, and it just went on and on and on. So I've always been aware of the separation. I think, okay, I know what this is about, but what happens when he starts to get close to people? How do I equip him then? And he's kind of more shy and more reserved. So I just became intimately aware of all the things I didn't know. And it's like, okay, Sarah, I can't, and I want to be a good parent.
Mm. And Susan, can I ask, because
Mhm.
there are many parents that are on the edge of deciding to move to the
Mm.
next point of starting to learn through a structured program like Sensitive
Yeah.
Conversations Made Easier. And can you describe what was the point where you just went, okay, it's time now, it's time?
Mhm. Yeah. I think certainly seeing my older son's body change so rapidly. He's the youngest in his class, and yet he's, like I said, walking around in this man body.
Mm.
Um, the sense that kind of my window had shut, and
Mm.
I haven't really said anything. I think that I realized that for as hard as this COVID season has been, that what it offers me is um, a chance to kind of immerse myself in material and also have more chances to speak to my kids because we're just together more.
Mm.
And I thought, this really kind of aligns so nicely that I thought I I want, we all want to, and I am aware of everyone's having different experiences with COVID,
Mm.
and I certainly don't mean to paint it with this like glamour brush. It's not that at all. But
Mm.
what I could see was that here we are all at home. I'm with them all the time.
Mm.
They're not with their friends as much.
Mm.
There's probably more opportunities or different opportunities to connect with them. This timing felt perfect. So I
Mm.
think it was also very much that. And
Mm.
then there's all this awareness that my own discomfort, like, it's not enough for me to say anymore that I'm not comfortable. I'm the adult here. And this sense of responsibility that I can keep putting it off, but I do myself and my kids a disservice. And I can see how my own upbringing, how it's affecting how I um, parent, and that's
Mm.
not okay for me. So that one too, just this, Susan, you got to get out of your own way. You got to, and what I was really appreciative about your course is that you acknowledge me in this, and it's a big part of this is acknowledging my own experience. So it's not like it's all about your kids, and you kind of got to just get over this fact that you're uncomfortable. No, 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 no. It's two people in this. It's equipping me and honoring me, and it's honoring them. And then I have like my children, well, I'm sure many parents would say this, they're night and day. Like they are night and day. I have the one who, and he's sitting here because he's homesick and he's got his earphones in, but like he is in awe of his body. Like it's and bodies and what they're able to do. And he's bright eyed and young and like, oh my gosh. And the other one, it's like, you got to dig like 100 feet into the ground to find out what he's thinking about anything.
Mm.
And okay, so how do I honor him? How do I honor him? God help me, I don't know,
Mm.
Sarah. And
Mm.
then of course seeing you, um, just the the passion you have for this work, the practicality you offer us, the playfulness, um, this, they're like, just like you offer the perfect ingredients in terms of someone that I would want to work with. Your
Mm,
wisdom and your values really align with mine. So
mm.
I guess then I could keep going, but yeah, I just
Oh,
felt like there's an opportunity that I have to get over myself on
mm,
behalf of my kids.
yeah.
On
And
behalf of
Susan,
my kids.
yeah, it's so important. We have such a wonderful opportunity and responsibility
Mhm.
raising new
Yeah.
humans. Yeah. Can I
And
ask?
then the window closes and then they're
Yeah.
grown and they're like they're doing their own thing. So it's not so you have this time with them and then this closes and then it's the other way where you're not the same person to them. So
Mm,
get on
yeah.
it, Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, um, there will be some parents that are considering joining the Sensitive Conversations Made Easier program, but they're a little bit unsure about what the experience is like inside. Like they might be
Mhm.
feeling a bit
Mhm.
protective of their private information,
Yeah.
or they're a little bit worried about,
Yeah.
like, is it going to be scary in there? Can
Yeah.
you describe what the experience was like?
Yeah. So let me be the first to say that Sarah and I have a chance to know of her work from some different contexts that we're in. So I was the only Canadian. Most of the women were Irish, and then some from different parts of Europe. And so there was already a sense of, okay, I'm in a different time zone, and who are these other women? But what was instant to me, what clearly to me was that we all shared the same value, the same kind of urgency and desire. And so you're like, oh, I'm with my people. Oh,
Mm,
okay. So it's not just Sarah, but it's other parents who are feeling and they're as interested in this as I am. So that really kind of instantly brings you down is that you're in a context with other parents who are thinking the same things as you, and then you get to hear their experiences. So, just in terms of the people that work with Sarah, I mean, if we think Sarah's awesome, her people are awesome too. So she has a way of just bringing together lovely, lovely groups of humans, and then her way of being with us is was just really like we were all appreciated, even though we shared so much in common. She Sarah does a really great job of also appreciating us for who we are and our own individual experiences. So you're not asked to kind of all merge and be a blob of, but you are valued as an individual as well. Um, so the way Sarah laid out the information, so there's you'll see that it was just like all the stuff that's kind of simming around in my brain, including the stuff that I don't know. It's just like so clear, so nicely laid out that I could feel myself settle. Like I don't have to go and get these books and then read them up and then do all this homework. And it's like, oh, it's all right there. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's what I taught. So it was just really, and everything's key is really targeted to the age of your kids. So I didn't have to do any work around, well, I have one that's older and one that's younger. And how do I And most of the time, I walked away just saying, "I don't have any questions because everything I have is right there, and if enough, then I'm good to go." And so that was it. I also didn't feel as a parent because we have so much to do um, that I was walking away with all this homework, and when am I going to do it? So it was what was asked of me. I probably would have had higher expectations of myself. That's one of my life things that I need to keep letting go of. But what we're invited to do was always an invitation and also very practical. And like, oh, yeah, I can do this.
mm,
So inside, it was um, just, I think, an immediate feeling of comfort. Like um, sensitive stuff made sensitive conversations made easier is that we're all instantly made comfortable. Um, don't have to be anything more or different than what we are. Everything we need is right in front of us, given to us when we need it, not before. Um,
Mm.
I learned a ton, and yet what was asked of me to do it was so, it's like, oh, no, there's no big homework. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I can do, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so these big feelings you have coming in and then instantly diminish.
Mm.
And we're never asked to say anything or talk about anything we're not wanting to. There's
Mm.
no pressure.
Yeah.
You could be quiet the whole time and that would be just fine.
Yeah.
So
Mm. Thank
just
you.
lovely. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Thank you. It reminds me because it's been a few weeks since we've been working
Mhm.
inside of Sensitive. We're in another program together now on my
Mhm.
ongoing support program. But Sensitive Conversations Made Easier. I just remember writing a sentence about it. There is no expectations here. You are here because you want to be
No.
here, and you
Yeah.
can do as much or as little
Yeah.
as you feel is right for you. And
Yeah.
because, and I mean, Susan knows this, but I'm addressing the people who are watching, because when we all need to learn to work out what is right for us, and
Mhm.
part of that is the skill that we're also passing on to our children, Susan,
Mhm.
right? Like that
Yeah.
I'm an individual, you're
Yeah.
you're an individual, your
Yeah.
kid's an individual, and how do we
Yeah.
negotiate all of us being slightly different, but yet
Yeah.
being able to live and work and love in the same
Yeah.
communities?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Such a gift.
Oh, so that was just a lovely description. In fact, I'm really looking forward to Sensitive Conversations starting off again, and
Yeah.
we've got some wonderful parents already in there. Is there
Yay.
anything else that you would like to add, or sort of like a reassurance or
Mhm.
encouragement to parents who are
Mhm.
thinking about doing this, that maybe it is the right time for them, but they're
Mhm.
still not sure?
Mhm.
Anything else further you would say?
Mhm. Um, yes, I'm pausing because there's lots, and I'm trying to just to offer what's most useful. And I'm thinking about
Encourage.
that part of me that said, that was debating it as well. Um, this actually, I'm going to get you to repeat the question so I make sure that I answer it because I was
Yeah,
just going
sure.
to.
The question was, is there anything that you would like to add to parents who are feeling like they're on the edge of maybe this is the right time and the right program for them to get into this, being able to talk more
Mhm.
comfortably, more
Yeah.
easily with their growing children? Is there
Mhm.
some sort of piece of knowledge now that you're at the other end of it that you think could be useful to the parents considering
Mhm.
doing this?
So the door that you're being invited to walk through is with this content, with this material, working with Sarah and the other people in the community is, um, around this whole peanut butter sandwiches, puberty's body sex.
Mm.
Um, but what I have found on this side, and that I would really offer to parents, is that not only are you going to be equipped, um, and when I mean equipped, I mean you will have everything you need. You will have resources that you will just your jaw will drop and you'll think, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for all these tools. And you'll have them not just for now, but you'll have access to them for later. So wherever you are in the parenting journey, um, you will see an immediate benefit and be able to relate to your kids instantly where they are right now without a sense of, oh man, I should have. Um, and so you'll be instantly equipped. And so any reservations you have or any struggles you have will come down very quickly. And that's a gift to you. That's a gift, I think, to a parent to know that. And it's not going to come with a whole lot of work. And you wonder how that is. But I have taken lots of courses in my life, and Sarah's is hands down one of the best that I've taken in terms of how she engages us and will engage you. So expect yourself to be immediately supported and get a solution for something that's you're thinking about right away. Your content has given me a new ways to be with my little men, not just around the topic of puberty, bodies, and sex, but who they are as people. And I feel a different sense of connection to them. And I'm so grateful, because, you watch your kids get older and, my 13-year-old, this morning I came in to give him the customary good morning hug, and he pushed his hand off, and I'm like, okay, this is good. This is normal. This is okay. But it was just another little reminder that our connection to them will change and keep shifting. But I was able to just not make anything of it, allow him to be him, me to be with what I'm feeling. But as parents, you want to seize every single opportunity we can to really connect with them. And this content will give you now ways to be with them and different ways to be with each of your kids, which is super fun. Yeah. And to me, I mean, that is just like, and then I remember you saying, to me, just really kind of Mama Bear wanting to protect them from the hard stuff. And there is hard stuff. It's like, I now have a different way to be in the hard stuff with them. We don't wish that for our kids, but I can see now the benefit of that, I can be called in, if you will, or invited in when things are hard for them. And what an honor,
Such an honor.
You are people. Really, it's just expect the relationship with your kids to change, and in the most delightful of ways, in your own relationship to yourself. Just to be transformed. And I don't use those words lightly. I work in the transformational space, and there's a lot of places where you can get a head full of information, and that will do you no good. You can all go out and get books. We can all consume information until the end of time. It's not the shortage of information. It's actually being able to use it in the places that matter most when you need it most. And with kids, you don't get, I tell my kids, I didn't get an instruction manual with you. And I didn't get one with you. But you're going to be equipped in the moment and when it's happening in ways that you'll just find so delightful. Like, oh, I did it. Okay. And I didn't die. So
you are so generous with your experience, Susan. Thank you so much, because
it's been so.
It's hard for parents who are on the outside looking in, sort of wondering.
It
so
is.
To give that snapshot to them is a very generous gift, and I'm so grateful. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I am. My future self thanks you too.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for your time again, Susan. And I just really appreciate the insight into the journey that you have been on from a mother who cares a lot about her boys, with the experience that you've had growing up, which meant that it was hard to do the conversations about bodies and sex and puberty and all those things in a different way to what you had. And thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for being courageous throughout the process, and I honor how far you've come. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Sarah.
All right. Okay. Well, take care, everyone. And
All
thanks.
right.
Okay. Bye for now.